one. High-tech music.
Very high tech.
This
Gets
is
the
the way
job
the
done.
big shows do it. Conan O'Brien does this. Hey, everybody, welcome. What drives us? Episode 384 for, what is today's date? It must be September 23rd, 2020. I had to look at my phone. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host. And look at this amazing, expansive panel that I have here to make me, well, probably sound really stupid. That's why I'm not going to talk, and I'm going to let them talk. So let me introduce them, and let's get this show on the road. First and foremost, my co-host, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to start off with a shout out. So there you go.
Aren't we
Because
pretentious?
I know, right? I messed up, and I owe all of our audio listeners an apology. There was a file extension error with the audio podcast, and shout out to Matt for letting me know. Thank you so much for letting me know early on, and I was able to get to it. So hopefully it didn't screw up too many people. Sorry about that.
Made my
It
stream
will
reboot of the
happen
car,
again,
man.
I'm sure of it.
Well, let me introduce my other co-host, the one that doesn't screw up the audio tagging. No, that's so not fair. Georgia McKenzie.
Hey guys, welcome to everybody. And as you can see, look at this gorgeous panel right here.
Mostly right there.
Raw masculine energy coming through your screen, people.
I don't know where I am in the Brady Bunch thing, right? Like everybody's. Nonetheless, our friend in Canada, he runs the Tesla Life, and yes, yesterday was hard at work with his other Tesla Life cohorts doing the Battery Day Live, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
And I don't appreciate the heckling I got from Russell yesterday.
In the chat room.
Thank you so much for helping out with that. That was really appreciated.
I just want to make sure that your viewers can play the Russell drinking game as often as possible.
They did ask where you were. So I was trying to get him on, but I guess he wasn't, he didn't put his face on. So
He didn't want to put his face on. Yeah.
No,
But, we got a lot to discuss about Battery Day later on. So.
Oh man, do we? And speaking of Battery Day, he's Mr. Electric in Oregon, Patrick Connor.
Hello. Sporting my What Drives Us shirt. Merch coming soon. You guys will be able to get one of your own, maybe one of these days. Yeah. So with Russell trolling the chat room over there, now I don't feel bad about all the times I troll Russell on his own page and his own Twitter feeds for What Drives Us.
You should feel bad about that.
I don't, not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Thanks.
Don't feed the trolls. Our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, he is the Supercharger King, Mr. Casey Green.
How's it going, everybody? Fall is here. It's waking up every morning under 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's interesting.
We had the equinox 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it
we're on
started
this
the day
side of fall.
early. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already getting dark early. I'm already complaining about it. Oh, it's dark at 7 o'clock. I don't know.
So we go play with the clock for no good reason because we
Speaking
can't
of
get
that,
over stuff from
never-
World War II.
Oh, who never complains. You can see the beautiful sky of Boulder, Colorado, just past his shoulders, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, glad to be back. Get the show going.
Have you got a beer, Paul?
Oh yes, I got a big beer today. Crank Yankers, which I thought was a puppet show from the 90s or something, but
That is correct.
It's
Yeah.
a masturbation reference, isn't it? Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
That as well.
it's got a
Whoa.
bicycle
Russell?
It's a
rocket.
bicycle.
so
Yeah,
I guess
it
that's
is.
It's
It
more
is
for
It's a
crank
really
cults.
cheesy, awful show.
Was it a 9% ABV?
that would be a little dangerous, but
Beer that big, a big.
yeah, I don't know what it is. Tastes good. It's an IPA. So, yeah.
Cool.
Wonderful. And last and certainly not least, our friend, the President of Canada, our expert on everything, Mr. John B. I know. Got to build you up, buddy.
Yeah, don't set the bar too high.
You're being modest. You know your stuff.
Yeah.
How Canadian of you.
All right, sorry about that.
Yeah, see?
Sorry.
All of us are just envious of your apparently encyclopedic memory, which
Yes.
scares me. John, what's the gear ratio on a 77?
No.
Yeah.
And I did finally watch that movie. Tony, I did finally watch that movie.
Yeah.
What movie are we talking about?
Oh, shoot. What was it called again? My Uncle Vinny.
My
Oh.
cousin Vinny.
My cousin Vinny.
Yes.
Yes.
I was able to find the one person in North America who had never seen My Cousin Vinny, and John finally watched that movie.
I haven't seen
It's
like
a
all of
good movie.
2 Utes.
So you see, I actually only watched the parts with Marissa Tomei, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't really seen the whole movie.
it.
That's okay.
Just
That's the part where
overall a
she.
great.
Yeah.
There
Right.
you go. Well, let's get the show on the road. We've got
Yeah.
so much ground to cover tonight. Let's start, oddly enough, not with the obvious, the big elephant in the room. We're going to start with another smaller, maybe dying elephant in the room. Tony, tell us what happened to Nikola Motors since we last talked about them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I want to start with this.
Oh, no. Oh!
So the good news is if you purchased in March and sold in June, you made out like a bandit.
It's true.
The bad news is if you're GM,
So looking at the stock chart, the stock goes downhill just like their trucks.
That's brilliant.
Never let it be said you would pass by a cheap shot, Patrick. That's
That,
We're not even
That was
10
brutal.
minutes in.
I actually admire it.
We're done. That's it. Patrick
Oh,
wins
I've
the
got
show.
more. I heard that. Hey, Paul, they're moving their headquarters over to the the Mile High City so they can give test rides. Of course, all downhill.
So what a
Take-
speaking of wild rides, what a wild ride it has been for the last 3 weeks. So as reported on this show 3 weeks ago, GM purchased or partnered with Nikola, and Mary Barra said that they did appropriate diligence. They evaluated everything. Everything was buttoned up. It was a done deal. It was a huge win-win. GM was looking forward to this. And just a couple days later, of all things, a short selling firm named Hindenburg is coming at a hydrogen truck manufacturer. If that
How
doesn't
ironic.
scream irony, nothing does.
Yeah.
And just like Patrick alluded to, one of the things that Hindenburg came out and made public in a very long and very detailed report is that their semi-truck never actually ran. And the promotional video that they put out, they literally had the truck towed to the top of a hill, got it rolling down the hill, and then used camera tricks to make it look as though the truck was moving under its own propulsion. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's assumed it was under its own propulsion because no one in their right mind would simply push a truck down a hill. But they never said it was, which
Right.
Nikola,
They implied it heavily.
Right.
yes, and they came out and said it was in motion.
It was in motion.
Oh my God. So their stock market did, it went down, like 40% one day, another 26% another day. And, oddly, GM is still standing by their partnership because I don't know. Do you got nothing else?
I got a copy of Mary's notes right here. So GM gets free shares. They get a paying customer. They get paid design work. And if they make it to market, they get to sell the trucks too.
Yeah.
Win-win.
We got a free custer list of people
Yeah.
that were interested.
Based on that stock chart, it looks like everyone gets free shares.
They have them on the toilet paper dispenser in the
I
bathroom.
was going to say they're printing them on a roll, on a perforated roll. Yeah. So that is what has happened in the last 3 weeks, except Patrick, what else has happened just in the last few days?
Oh, yeah. So, latest in this saga is that Trevor Milton has voluntarily stepped down from the chairman of the board role, which he'd already given up the president and CEO role. And so now he's officially out of the company. And they have asked him if he's going to tweet anything related to the company, that they have their lawyers review it first.
So he deleted his Twitter account.
He deleted his account. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's one way to make sure you don't put your foot in your mouth. And they're under investigation by both the Department of Justice and the SEC, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see if there's yet another shoe to drop in this saga.
Yep.
See if
So
there's
to me-
a toothless jaw
me-
that's going to gnaw on there.
To me, the whole Milton thing is, he's like, I'm stepping aside, but I'm still going to be your biggest fan. I'm going to be on the sidelines rooting you on.
Well, he
Okay,
better,
wait a
because he
minute.
still has a big chunk of stock in the company.
Right. But if they and he, if no one did anything wrong, you don't cheer from the sidelines. You stay there and you even if you're taking the brunt of it.
Well, he
You
wanted to
know
get
what I
his
mean?
stack off of it. Was his what he says.
But why
Allegedly.
does he even have that? And that's the part I
Well,
don't fully
Yeah,
understand.
and he'd even tweeted things like, leaders stay and fight, cowards run.
And then he ran.
Well, that tweet didn't age well.
No, yeah, you thought it meant I'm going to stay and be a leader. But no, he was
Right.
just
That's
warning you,
implied.
I'm about to run.
Well, there he goes. There he goes,
Sure,
implying to us
surely.
and us accepting stuff at face value again. He implied
Right,
that
it's
leaders
totally our fault.
was going to stay.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure that the rest of the board said either you resign or we're going to throw you under the truck big time.
We'll push it down the hill.
It might take a while
Bring the
for it
truck
to get going.
up the hill, then throw you under the truck.
I'm sure he didn't want to leave, but he was read the riot act and he had to leave. Someone had to take the fall.
Yes.
So the only upside, if you will, coming out of Nikola right now is it was the semi truck that never ran under its own propulsion, and then them saying, well, GM didn't buy us with a semi truck, and we're actually not pursuing the semi truck. We're doing the Badger, which is the pickup truck, and that's what GM is interested in. But after all of this, what do you think the odds are that the Badger's ever going to see the light of day?
Well, see, the Badger is a little easier because it was already just a drawing, and GM has brought trucks to market before, and it already fit in with the GM design language. So if they started with the EV, it was likely, if it started with the fuel cell, I mean, GM has never done a commercial fuel cell at like for public scale, which is what they had committed to on the semi truck. So
Right.
this still has a potential if the stank doesn't get onto GM as well.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't depending on Nikola for anything for the engineering or technology.
They
So
were
that
going
was
to
for the-
white label, white box it, and then stamp the Nikola logo on it, and roll it out the door.
Right. So it's going to be effectively a GM project with Nikola badging.
Like
Now
a
the rest
and-
of Nikola's business, that's the part that I mean, we've talked about how hydrogen in a lot of ways is a unicorn, and some of the promises that Trevor Milton was making for their price of hydrogen and for hydrogen filling stations were significantly cheaper than anything that anybody else has ever done before. And yet they are buying off the shelf parts and assembling them. So I don't see how they could have kept or made those promises. So I'm still very skeptical about the rest of their business.
They were going to make it up in volume.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
let's be clear though. There's a lot of CEOs selling a lot of products, making a lot of claims that don't exactly come to fruition.
But they
He's
generally
far
have a
from the
better
first.
track record. than
I'm
this
not defending
Yeah.
fraud. What I'm saying is
It
that-
sounds like.
no, not at all. Not at all. I'm not a big fan of fraud at all. And frankly, I'm glad that Trevor Milton's out of this universe because it's a better universe. The green car universe is better without him. But I don't think that invalidates everything that they talked about. I don't know. I don't know what's legitimate behind what they said and what isn't. You know, what do they have no engineers? Have they done no work at all in building this stuff? You know, because he promised a hydrogen, a vertically integrated hydrogen delivery system. I mean, where have we heard talk like that before?
Where have we seen it done before? I mean, because
Oh, those solar powered superchargers? Yeah. Okay. All I'm saying is
there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. There's two.
Uh,
Better than none.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
so
my
if
God,
you
you
compare
guys are
it-
so
in my house.
Again, the difference between 2 out of how many and none.
is
Well-
better than none. Yeah.
No.
Let's
No.
set the bar
you're-
so low that anybody can just step right over it with one little thing. 2 is not better than none. 2 is the absolute barest minimum you get.
No.
compared to
One
what
would
you
be
found.
the absolute minimum.
We are not having this argument. No.
We're not going to argue about it, but it's really okay. Maybe it's just a step above, but really, seriously, let's not lower that bar. That's too low, honey.
There's still. You're obviously throwing rocks at Tesla, Russell. So everybody drink.
I'm not. What I'm saying though is,
Yes.
look at everybody drink.
This is Nikola, not Tesla. The
Right.
Yeah.
same person.
The other
Yeah,
half of that
very-
name.
Very
I'm-
different.
What I'm trying to do is put it in context, though. Okay, because on one hand, people come out in a converted Yamaha ATV, and everybody gets excited because it's like, oh, it's an electric
So
but
it had
then,
funky angles. That's why they were excited.
yeah, but then Nikola rolls a truck down a hill, and
But-
it's
but
the most
again,
dishonest thing that's ever happened.
But again, we're looking at the track record. I mean, because look at all of Milton's ventures and look at all of Buck's ventures.
It's not going to benefit your argument, Casey.
No, so the
Because-
difference is
because you
Tesla's
must have
delivering
a-
real products today to a
Slowly,
lot of
yeah.
customers that are very happy. And
Yes.
yes, do they make grandiose promises above and beyond what they have? Sure.
Yes.
I'm not going to argue that. But that's different when you still have a company that's delivering great products and making promises versus a company that has no revenue other than some solar panels that they sold to Trevor Milton for his house. And
Oh, that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the only revenue that the company has had. And other than that, all they have is promises and drawings.
No argument. No argument with that. Tesla is better than Nikola, but Tesla should be way different. And that's all. I'm just, again, I'm just fair enough, Tony. I'm sorry.
They keep biting off more than they can chew. I mean, it's not that they don't do the stuff as they say they're going to do in general. I mean, there have been 1 or 2 misses, but typically it's just that they are either somehow magically on time or they're usually late.
Right. Let's go to the next story. Because
Yeah.
Paul has a great story about some new chargers from a name I didn't expect.
Yeah, this is an interesting story. Cadillac, I guess they're still a car company in business, is saying to their dealer network, if you want to remain a dealer for Cadillac, you have to build a charging station in your dealership, which is average cost around $200,000. And the reason
That's
they're
a DC charger.
yeah, and the story came to us via Green Card Reports. And their argument is their future is going to be significantly electric. So if you're a Cadillac dealer in Podunk, Idaho, get on the train and put in a charger because you're going to need it to sell our cars. And if you don't want to do it, you may lose your dealership. So I don't know of any real Cadillac EVs, but they say there's an Escalade EV coming. We've all heard of the Cadillac ELR, which was the 2-door Chevy Volt, which I think they sold 27 of them or 2,700.
There's still some brand new ones in the lot.
Yeah, it failed miserably. It was a nice car, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't the right car for Cadillac buyers. It was a 2-door plug-in hybrid with probably zero education in the dealer force to sell it.
And it was a Volt at double the price, aimed directly at the Model S.
Right. There were some unhappy owners.
Yeah.
But this
The
was
secondhand owners loved it.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some
great
happy
buy,
secondhand holders.
are used.
yeah.
But I think that's encouraging that a company like Cadillac that has stodgy old cars is saying, hey, like the future is electric and you guys got to buck up to play in this market. So hopefully they will deliver electric cars in the next year or two. And they say they have a Lyric crossover EV coming out in 2022. And course, the dealers want an electric Escalade because that's where they make all their profit is on the Escalade.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's encouraging to see car manufacturers forcing dealers to get into EVs rather than, well, you can sort of do it if you want to, but if you don't want to sell our car, don't worry about it. You could just sell pickup trucks instead.
Yeah. So the reason I assumed that those were level 2s is when I worked at a Chevy Cadillac dealership, we had a level 2 that came with our demo Volt, and we had a level 2 that came with our ELR, and we installed them. One of them stopped working immediately, and the other one been in service pretty much the whole time. And so I in my head, I processed it as being a continuation of that program. A DC fast charge network would actually be a good move, considering that they are currently relying on third parties.
And a lot of Nissan stores have
Yeah.
DC fast charging for their customers, which is smart.
And I understand from the dealers here in Guelph, Ontario, they put in a fast charger that was required by Chevy in order to sell the Volt and the Bolt. And also, the 200 grand also went towards some additional equipment, diagnostic equipment that was used as well. So not just the charger, but some tools and equipment used to diagnose problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So my experience when I had the Leaf charging at the various Nissan dealerships was not good. Sometimes they were around back and not accessible. Other times they were up front, but it was a car sales lot, so they had cars parked there, and you had to go in and ask them to move these vehicles. And I stopped in Longview, Washington, and the dealership was closed, and the charger was behind a locked gate. So I don't know. So those are some lessons that I hope if you're a car dealership and you want to install a charging station, do a better job than those guys did.
If you own a Cadillac dealership and you're watching this program, those are some tips.
Yes. Think about sponsoring the show, and we will actually say nice things about you.
So the hard part for them is a lot of those lots are designed not to be drive-through and have block gates, and you would have to re-architect your parking lot in order to make that
Usually the
function.
service department's accessible 24/7.
It depends.
Yeah.
Depends
on
on
the
when it
neighborhood.
was built. Yeah, and the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. One thing that to consider is a dealership, much like a warehouse, is, they know the price of every square foot, of that asphalt. And if they have to reserve spaces, they're looking at the cost of having an empty spot or 5 or 6 empty spots right in front of the building or somewhere.
Especially those ones that have the multi-story parking structures.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
That
yeah.
gets even more pricey.
And often the most expensive part of installing a charging station is the trenching, which means they want to put it near their power access, but that may or may not be the right place for other logistical reasons.
Yeah, because unless you've got the equipment right at the perimeter, you have to then put it off the building, which is where all your power is currently going.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was one thing, and it's a minor tangent. When I was talking to our facilities people at work, when they installed the chargers, they put them right next to the front door, and I kind of argued with them. And I was like, "Look, we love the fact that you're putting in chargers, but please don't put them right in front of the door, because then people hate us because we get to park right in front of the door."
Or they get
iced. Looked at me. Yeah, or they get iced or whatever. And the guy looked at me, and he's a great guy. I've known him for years. And he said, "Do you want me to tell you how much copper costs per linear foot?" I'm like, "Okay, thank you." I walked away.
Well, the copper isn't too bad. It's the trenching and conduit and inspections and permits and
Labor.
Probably all rolled in the cost. But yeah, I mean, that was another thing to Patrick's point is, yeah, they don't want to have to rip up asphalts and run it all the way to the other end of the lot or whatever. Yep.
So maybe this will be a precedent for other car companies to start deploying, fast chargers at all the car dealers for all brands. So let's hope that happens.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And any step, even a bad step, is a step. That's, it's getting it. Maybe that's the thin edge of the wedge.
Mhm.
And I've had similar experiences at Nissan dealerships that Patrick's had too. And those chargers were almost always blocked or inaccessible,
Or broken.
Yeah, I can't tell you. Both times I was driving a review Leaf, I went by multiple Nissan dealerships just to try and top up and charge and just, because why not? And never could do it.
In all of my travels, I've only found one didn't have a gate or any of the other problems of the Nissan stores with the system. So
Yeah.
Do you guys think that maybe that's kind of a passive aggressive way of making sure strangers don't use it? Because it sounds to me like it's kind of a passive aggressive strategy.
Yeah.
Because although the industry may want to adopt it and it may be moving to a certain way, y'all know people are assholes.
Oh, yeah. You tell me what to do. Do this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
minimum.
don't want it. I don't like the
Yeah.
change. I don't want to deal with this. So I'm gonna put it in the least accessible spot. I'm gonna make sure that or it's only people who have bought a car from us who should be able to come back and use it. Or I can't earn money off of it. So why the hell should I make it accessible? I'm just listening to everybody's complaints. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't.
You
think
said
you're
every
wrong.
square footage counts, right? So they figured if they leave it there, it's empty. It's been empty for 2-3 months. Why not just park a car there? And if someone wants it, they'll just move it. To them, probably moving it is probably less inconvenient than leaving it empty.
They think that, but then in practice is the hard part.
Does anyone know what Hanlon's razor is?
It's the opposite
Is he
of
related to
razor?
Occam?
It's Hanlon's razor says never attribute to malice that which is equally explained by stupidity.
I didn't know the name, but yes.
Okay.
Sometimes though, people
I didn't
know.
multitask.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think, and I'm not making excuses or anything here. Car dealers are malicious and stupid often. But, again, if they have a charger on their premises and they didn't have one before, that's a good thing. That at least is a wedge that gives you something to talk about. Maybe a Cadillac customer is going to go there someday and go, "Hey, can I charge?" And they'll be like,
"What?"
I'm sorry.
Or you could have another brand and you come in on E and then not E as an electrons, but E as an empty, and they do the car shuffle, the three of the guys up, you push your car over to the charger, you plug in, and by golly, that might be the next place you buy your car from.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Let's go to Mr. Mark Coughlin for the rodeo, the roundup, the summary,
Yeah, let's do a summary. Obviously, not going to talk about everything that happened on Battery Day. It would take 3.5 hours, so we're not going to do that. But what we will do is touch on three things. First of all, the battery that was introduced yesterday is a much larger battery. So we're looking at basically a 46 by 80. And of course, the battery net, that's rather large. It's about 500% larger capacity. And,
I'm just confusing you. Sorry.
46 by 80 what? Was there a unit?
Millimeters.
Centimeters.
I've been saying it's about the size of a toilet paper roll, which is not exactly accurate, but
it's close. It's close.
It's close.
And they're also it's also 6 times the amount of energy
Power.
can be stored inside this new size.
5 times the
Tesla-
power, 6 times the energy.
That's right.
So Tesla's talking about building their battery packs with these larger cans that are going to be in it. And they'll be able to reduce the amount of batteries that are in a given, sled where they're held. And they'll be pushed in a little bit, so even further protect them from side impacts. So that was kind of interesting. They've made some adjustments to the battery as well in chemistry. There's going to be multiple different types of batteries based on the application. So more nickel in more intense situations and less nickel when it's not required. So they'll be able to spread out the minerals that they need based on the application. So they talked about 3 different sets of batteries. There may be more, but yesterday they talked about 3. The next item with the batteries is that these batteries will have the ability to be part of the car's structure. they're going to build them into a pack that will be glued all together, most likely with the cooling. They didn't talk about cooling, but we believe that the cooling will be built in. And they're put into a structured piece that is going to make the car even better sturdy. So they can use less
Welds.
They welds and things of that nature with this in place. They talked about having, even if you were to cut off the roof in such a case of convertible, this solid base would make the car more sturdy than it currently is. So that's kind of interesting to hear that will be the case with this new battery pack. They also indicated that, of course, these larger cans that are going to be used will be used starting most likely with the Cybertruck, the Semi, and the Roadster. The current cars that are under manufacture, they will keep their current sizes. Their batteries will not change at this point.
Was
So-
there any talk of them selling these batteries to other automakers?
There
That did
was
come up.
talk.
Yeah.
Whether or not it happens, though, Paul, is questionable. But they are indicating that they need all the batteries they can produce, plus upping their orders from Panasonic, from Cattle, from the other manufacturers that they
G,
get batteries
yeah.
from.
Same.
So all those they're upping their orders and producing their own. And then they talked a little bit about their Roadrunner project, which is the one that built this new battery and has spec'd it out, and talked about taking their line speeds with the new cells and pushing it basically 7 times the speed that they're currently doing at Gigafactory Nevada. So lots of movement here, lots of things moving, but basically all of these things together for the batteries will reduce the cost of the batteries by 56%.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's over a 2.5-2-year period. So this is going to allow them to move on with not only the production of more and more batteries for these cars, the cars are going to be sold more and more. And here's the great thing about this: with the reduction of these batteries, the price of them, they'll be able to build a more affordable car.
Yeah.
And they talked about their world car, or some have called it a Model 2. There's no real name for it at this point. It's just a naming convention. But
Yeah.
we're talking a $25,000 base EV,
I like to call it the Model Next.
the
Yeah.
Model Next.
Elon did say in a previous on-stage event that they are done with Model Asterisk until
Yes,
see
they
the
are.
future.
So what'll be nice is that this car for 25 grand base is going to be available in 3 years. So if
With
you want
all
to
the
start,
options.
if you want to start saving your money, you can, because when they announced the Model 3, it was a little bit under 3 years when they announced that. So they're not, of course, there's no order taking. That's going to be another event. I'm most likely that they will show the design of the car and do the whole splash. But it is interesting that Elon has taken now the step that we're going to drop the price further based on the savings of the battery and the scaling up of the number of cars that we're making. We're able to pass that savings along and make a world car for 25K base US.
And they'll come with all
You know,
the same benefits of an
And
EV as far as savings.
that's
and maintenance and
amazing
whatnot.
to me. So
Yeah.
you take all those pieces, you put
You
it
can't buy a
together.
Corolla for 25 that's got
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you're looking at a car and with improved manufacturing. I think I read in one article that by building the battery into the frame, they're eliminating something like 350 parts,
Yes.
which further reduces the price and the overall manufacturing. The battery is getting less expensive. It's going to be built into the car, and the 1,000,000-mile battery, 25. I mean, we're talking. What you're saying is, in 3 to 5 years, pretty much
I'm saying 3.
in 3 years, and I put in the 5 because it's Elon time. So about half of the population would be able to afford an EV that would probably outlast them.
Yeah.
And that's remarkable.
Yeah, and then you consider the fuel savings, and it's equivalent of buying like a $18,000 or $20,000 car. If you can take all those fuel costs that you would have had for gasoline and put those into your car payments, that's helpful.
No,
So it just
not only
might-
that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was
Go
going to say,
ahead, John.
and it just might be the last car you buy.
Yeah.
Especially
Okay, I was,
looking
I
at
was
with something
going to
newer
say
and
that was going to
cooler.
affect the used car market, but okay.
In the used car market, yeah. So, I mean, basically what that means is in 5 to 10 years, the used car market for internal combustion engine vehicles is just going to bottom out.
Yeah. So you've got 3 years, people. Figure out what you're going to do with your used ICE cars, because it's something. I just can't believe that people would not take the option of buying a car that has a track record, a company behind it that has a track record of selling an exciting car that people want to buy. And I think that's, if you think the Model 3 caught the world by storm, this world car is going to do double that at least. So it's going to be
Might be the
interesting.
reason behind his test drive of the ID.3,
Oh,
because that's probably right. Like,
Yep.
competition.
They're targeting €30,000 for the ID.3.
Yep.
It's roughly what he's looking at. Maybe he's looking at that size. Maybe he's looking at Europe. So just getting ideas, I guess.
Yep.
That's what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Another point that I'll go over is that Tony touched on manufacturing. That sparked me that there was, of course, talk about the new die-cast machinery, size of a house, that's putting out just a few parts as opposed to hundreds of parts for the front and back end of the Model Y. They had developed a new metal that is poured into these casts and then pressurized. And then this new metal doesn't require a curing or an application after it comes
no
out of the
post-treatment.
cast. So that treatment typically in the past would cause parts to warp and change shape slightly, whereas this new procedure doesn't have any of those problems. It just comes out of the cast and is ready to be cooled and then placed inside an actual unit. So that's a big plus for them, and it lowers the cost of the cars as well. So
Oh,
It makes the whole bottom of the car and the unibody, it makes it 3 pieces.
that just made me wonder if they went to a smaller car like this new world car, will they be able to do that as just one
One piece.
big casting?
possibly.
It might fit in the machine.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Wow.
And then the final piece, of course, the show piece they showed near the end was that the Model S Plaid has been revealed. And it now will go on sale before the end of next year. The tri-motor, 200 horsepower, the 1100 horsepower, 200 mile per hour car that will do 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds and will do a quarter mile in under 9 seconds is going to be released to the public for $140,000 US.
Wow.
Brooks from Bragg.
I need one of those so that I can sit in Chicago stop and go traffic with style.
So Brooks from Dragstime brought up the point that it's actually illegal to run that car on most drag strips in the country because it doesn't have a roll bar or parachute.
Oh, wow.
So, that's for the high-end buyers that are looking. And of course, there was an interesting article put out just today where they compared it to the cost of the Taycan and also the cost of the future Lucid car. And of course, the starting price is lower and the specs are higher. So
And it's $20,000 cheaper than the original P100D with Ludacris.
So very interesting. Tesla's got a lot of things going on. The other thing I'll comment on is that the crowd control at Tesla for the event, everyone was sitting in a car. It was like a drive-in theater where the event
Of
happened.
Model Ys, of brand new Model Ys.
And people were beeping
There are
and
three, isn't
flashing their horn. So interesting event, different in the days of COVID.
Absolutely. What the hell? Who's playing music?
Mark
Thank
had
you,
asked for a
Lee
theme
Moon.
song for
Is that
weeks
my
now.
theme?
Yeah, that was your theme.
Yeah, that was nice.
And that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for that roundup, and thank you for sitting through 3.5 hours of battery day, and giving us the 10-minute version. I appreciate that. Little did you know.
Nice.
Let's go for our next story. Georgia has a very interesting announcement made. Was it today?
Yes, today. So kind of bumped my story to talk about this one, which actually I'm kind of thinking all the stuff we just finished talking about dovetails nicely. It's a nice mesh. Cadillac with the new Chargers. Well, guess what? Gavin Newsom decided that he was going to put his little foot down and his delicately manicured toes all over buying new gas cars at 2035. The goal is to ban the sale of new gas cars by 2035 so that we are working with hybrids and EVs. Of course, his usual detractors do not like it. And I actually think that that's an ambitious goal. But you know what? Guess what? I think we kind of need to do something, because being on fire for about 2 months to 3 months a year, it kind of sucks. I don't know about you, but my entire tiny little ass patio is no longer green with, my hand painted tables and chairs that I put together my freaking self, thank you, thrifting and going to getting scrap wood. No, it is now gray, and the whole damn thing is covered with ash. And literally, this has been the 3rd year in a row where we cannot go outside, not because of COVID, not because of diseases, but because you can't be outside, because it's just, there's a fire in nearly every corner of the West Coast. And this is probably the worst one. It's going all the way up into Canada. So we have to do something, and somebody has to have the stones to finally say, it's time to move on to new technology. So I'm actually thinking Cadillac made a bold move, because I don't really feel we've seen strong Cadillac EVs. And guess what, Cadillac dealers? Get the fuck your shit together and start with some EVs. Stop being such geriatric assholes. You don't have to be old and bitter because technology's moving on. Embrace it. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I should know. I'm kind of old and bitter myself. That's why I cuss so much. I've seen all your foolishness. Get a freaking EV on the market, damn it. Hey, but you've got a charger. Cool beans.
By 2035, the cost, with the battery stuff and the $25,000 Tesla,
Mhm.
there'll probably be no place for gas cars, because EVs will just be cheaper, and the consumer will say, well, why would I want a gas car? Because it's going to cost me more to drive it, and EVs are fun. And by then, everybody will have ridden in a Tesla or some EV. So
I've worked
I think it's
in
entirely
government
doable.
communications and science communications now for what seems to be 100 years of a decade. And smart people with degrees or any kind of success, are absolutely the hardest people. That's just a beer. And are the hardest people to convince to actually change direction. Even when you're pointing out to them, you're heading straight into a wall. You know that, right? Here's all the data. Here's what I know. I have expertise in my area, and you know that thing, that very niche thing, and I grant you your expertise and experience, but you cannot get smart, experienced, powerful people to shut the fuck up and listen for once. And so I am never surprised that the getting a large group of people to just kind of veer off the destructive track and onto something that makes perfectly good sense and that they can do. It just requires a slight amount of discomfort to just change. You can't get them to do it, but you know what? Somebody, I'm very happy that he actually managed to do that. I wish him well. He's going to get excoriated because we do have a really loud and disruptive bunch of conservatives that dislike everything he does. But it's a good move. It points towards the future. And the great thing, and one of the slight tangent, one of the disconcerting things about, let's say, Bill Barr declaring certain cities
Anarchist jurisdictions.
Yeah, okay. One of the things a lot of Americans don't understand is that there are two very large markets that control certain things, California and Texas. So I'm going to use the textbook example. California is a large enough market for textbooks that we don't have to deal with whatever bullshit the Texas school board says should be in their school books. Same thing with California on energy policy is a very forward-thinking, go for the advancement, go for the sustainability. So we make a change there. It tends to drag the rest of America kicking and screaming along with us because it's just such a big market that we have that kind of pull. Texas is a competitive market where if they want to be holding back progress, they can do it. They can dig in their heels because it's a real push me, pull you situation. So California taking this step is a very bold move, but that kind of signals to me that one of the ways that an ongoing Trump administration would like to put a kibosh on sustainability and electric vehicle efforts is to eventually declare that our local governments must bow down to federal standards. And if the feds say, well, we don't like your car standards or car cleanliness standards, we don't like this, and we're going to cut it because we must have gas cars, period. They will try to do that. So that's something we may want to see how it develops, because it doesn't, these things don't ever stay locked into one area. They always get applied. When you have precedent set like this, if it's allowed to stand, the only thing that will be changing it is once you take that precedent, even if it's not a law, and then go and use the law to say, hey, this violates the law, and now we must come up with a clear standard and a clear law to say, you can't do that. Here's why. It's according to this level of thing. And always remember, the one rule with settled law is there is no such thing. Yeah. All you need is somebody with a standing to take that case, and a set of lawyers that are willing to fight that case, and a judiciary that is friendly to overturning anything that's been settled. That's all it takes in America. And a lot of people have believed in settled law or did not even understand many things were not codified into law. And that's kind of why we're on fire in so many different ways in America, because we're that freaking exceptional that we like to set ourselves on fire morally, mentally, environmentally, and medically. So there you go, guys.
So
wow.
Somebody had pointed out that this will actually, if it goes into effect, will actually have the effect of happening 5 years earlier because nobody will want to be left holding the hot potato.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
like
this is
Tony
the
said,
sale. This is the sale of the new vehicles.
gas
Are you talking about? Sorry.
Yeah, new fossil cars. Yeah, but like
So
like
there's still
you
a
and
used car
Tony
market.
said, the $25,000 EV and lower. I mean, that will probably make it so people will self-select.
Yeah. So you need a couple other things too, right? You slowly increase the gas tax. Don't just do a big jump. Do like a cent every year from now until 35, right? It's a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
Frog in the boiling water thing, right? So then people will it's easier to have change if you make it look and feel like the person made the choice on their own, rather than saying you must buy an electric car.
Right, a
You know what
nudge
I mean?
versus a shove. It makes a big difference to how people
Yeah.
perceive that.
Exactly. So if you just slowly make it more expensive, then
I
they'll do the
believe
math
that
themselves.
as much as you guys do, because I've watched a lot of gentle nudges. We've been gently nudging now for a long time on sustainability efforts. And let's look at solar panels. we had solar panels on the Carter administration White House. It was meant to be that gentle nudge to start guiding us towards sustainability. So what did the next administration do?
Well, I don't know.
Moved
The
it.
next administration, California.
No, but I mean, you
No,
got
the
to put.
next administration was a conservative from California, but you know, the thing
movie
is
star, if you will.
we and I use the collective American we because oh God, I got my citizenship. I could have fled. Okay, back to out of the despair. So we like to dig in our heels. And the thing is that when you're talking high profile stuff like this, especially when it's done by high profile people, even when it's just an example, it's got an immediate pushback on it. And I wish we could say that gentle nudges work, because I watched our local composting program still in effect. And I, of course, am crazy for composting. I do my composting even though I'm in an apartment, but I have actually watched people's compliance with the composting in our local complexes go less and less as the program continues, because there's no enforcement. There's no consequence for not separating out your trash. There's no consequence for putting things in the right recycling bin, because nobody comes through and goes, why are you dumping the regular garbage into the composting? It becomes an incredible mess, and we're spending much more to take out trash before it goes into the main corporate composting piles. So, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you on gentle nudges. I agree absolutely. But at some point, an authority figure has to step in and kind of put a limit on gentle nudges and set hard consequences.
There's a word for that, Georgia. It's leadership.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say fascism.
It's. I don't. I think it's. I think it's.
Authoritarianism.
Yeah, I don't think it's fascism so much as leadership, and there's a subtle difference that unfortunately we've lost the ability to discriminate.
Don't quite understand that. Yeah, we don't. We look for authoritarians because we want order. The unfortunate thing is that the democratic process is a disorderly process that does create a level of order. But when we want an exactitude, when we want everybody must fall in line a certain specific way, the way how one particular ideology determines it, then we fall into authoritarianism. And the unfortunate truth is, it is very easy that if you establish a chaotic mess, people align more and more with the idea that, well, we must have a hardcore authoritarian to step into it. And it's a balancing act. And the problem with balance is people think of it as a noun. It is not a noun, it is an active verb. Democracy is not a noun, it is an active verb. Love is not a noun, it is an active verb. You must do it every day on a regular basis. And that's all there is to it.
That's some wisdom.
Yeah.
Well said, Georgia. Thank you. For our next story, let's go to Paul.
Yeah, so I was rolling around YouTube, and this week Ford released a new video of their electric F-150. I guess in rebuttal to GM talking about electric pickup trucks and the Cybertruck, and all these companies want to jump on the EV bandwagon, maybe get their stock to go up. But what was cool about the video, and we'll have a link here in the show notes, is that they talk about truck features like it can tow, it can go uphill, it has 8,000 horsepower, all the stuff that truck buyers want to buy. And then they show that they're revamping one of their Dearborn, Michigan factories to build electric trucks, which is pretty cool. Because most of the pickup trucks that America buys are actually built in Mexico right now, not America. So if they can pull this off and it can be cost competitive, it's just a matter of getting the buyer into a truck and putting his foot on the accelerator, and they go, holy cow, this thing hauls ass. This is what I want, right? And so it's cool that they're slowly marketing, and of course it says prototype vehicle all over it. But with the Rivian and the Lordstown and all these, the truck market is huge. And if someone can figure out how to make an affordable electric truck, it's going to be a home run. So, and if it's supported by the manufacturer.
It was interesting that they also indicated that operating cost 40% less.
Right.
Talk
Right.
about screaming out to fleet owners.
And
Yes.
you're paying,
Yeah.
$150 a week in gas. If you can cut that in half, that's great.
Yeah.
There you go.
So let's see when it's real. But the demo was pretty cool. 60% incline or something going up the hill with all the torque.
Yeah.
Again, every step forward is a good step, and hopefully Ford will follow through on this. They historically, but we're gonna hope. We're gonna believe them because that's what we want, and we're gonna go from there. And speaking of going from there, Casey has yet another story about an electric truck.
Yes. You flipped the order on me. So, Lordstown has shown off the interior of their vehicles in photo. So it's no longer just a render; it's vaporware, blah blah. Now they have a physical prototype. Tony's got the picture for me that we can actually take a look at it. It doesn't look like a generic work truck as I've seen it described. It actually looks to be a little bit more premium than that. It's more like the base model of a regular truck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very good.
is that
Yeah.
perlage on the dash? That's very odd.
It's probably plastic. It's probably plastic. But they get your triple screen there. You got your cup holders. Everything can be worked with the glove. Just like, it's a really good selling point for a pickup truck that can work with gloves. And so you're not going bare bones, vinyl, everything. So this has legs.
It's pretty luxe, actually. I was looking through the images.
Is this the only
definitely
image?
a luxury.
There's 4
Let me
images.
see. Yeah, let me find.
When they tweeted this out, the problem I had was they said something like, check out the very first all-electric pickup. I'm like, this is not the very first.
Right.
Patrick
had
exactly. I had a Chevy S10 electric from the 90s, and there was an
that's it.
electric Ford Ranger from that same era. And there were electric trucks before that in the 60s and before that in 1920. So calm down with the very first one, dude. Do a little bit of research.
It might be the first production one with in-wheel motors, and I'm curious how they are going to handle the visibility.
If you want to say the first production electric truck from Lordstown Motors, now you're right.
the first production electric pickup truck this century,
right, this millennium,
yeah.
Although there were Smith and others that were making electric trucks.
There's that, yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's
good.
Coffee. That's a good feature.
It comes with coffee. Every truck comes with one cup of coffee.
And
It's Tim Hortons, eh?
what if it
Does it have a
actually
little
had
electric
coffee
coffee warmer in there?
That would be the best.
All you have to do is take that cup to any Tim Hortons and they fill it for free.
There you go.
Okay, I need to know if it's quality coffee then. This Tim Hortons.
There you go.
You can ask the president here and Mark.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, thank you,
2.5
Casey.
Canadians on the show.
Yeah. So my other one was just a light touch. It wasn't really meant to go into the battery day thing, but they pointed out that the structural way that they're doing the battery now, and the way that they shared that was something that the other manufacturers can now pick up on, because everybody's doing the electric sled thing,
Skateboard.
right? Exactly. So now if they make it a structural element, they just glue it all in. I mean, Tesla patents are open, right? And he's like, hey, I'm doing this so you can take it. Boom. So now the stiffness will be something that the other manufacturers could make good use of, especially people who make convertibles.
Paul, what's it like to imagine repairing a battery pack that has been epoxied together as one budget piece?
If it's a million mile and it never fails, that's great.
Right.
But if it breaks and has to be serviced, I mean, even a Nissan Leaf pack is glued shut, and it's a pain in the ass to get the part to service it. So I hope they're really confident on their warranty and life cycle predictions. Because what are you going to do? Throw away the car if the battery fails and you can't fix it?
I guess.
No, it's just-
Get yourselves all ready.
so
Yeah. And so that was something that all the EV makers can now make an adaptation to their skateboard. The question was then if there's a way that they can make that removable, like you said, to make it serviceable if that's necessary.
Yeah.
And those were my two.
If it is. Well, thank you so much. Let's go to our final story. Speaking of, you know what? What's with all these new electric cars? Can we just get over it already? I need a manual gas car. No, I don't. I really
Would you like a manual EV?
No, I just don't.
You need another
We're gonna
channel
send you a
for that.
Dodge Dart.
Oh. You know, yeah, you know what? This isn't about me. This is about John. So, John, tell us about another exciting new EV.
Yeah. So Volkswagen took the covers off their latest global electric vehicle, the Volkswagen ID.4. It's an SUV. Hopefully someone can throw that up on the screen there.
Oh.
So yeah, it'll be a
Sorry.
little too fiddly for me to. So yes, this will be a global car, right? They released the ID.3, little small hatchback, but that's just for Europe. This will be for sold all around the world. It will initially be made in Germany in the Zwickau factory. Eventually, they'll be producing them in Chattanooga, Tennessee, for the American market, and there'll be another factory in China for the local market as well. The thing about this EV is that it is an SUV, right? That's what Americans want. Americans want an SUV. Seats 5. It's smack, like the specs put it smack in the middle of the compact SUV market. We're talking RAV4, CRV, Escape, Rogue. That market. In terms of size, it's within inches of any of those competitors that I've mentioned earlier. It's slightly shorter. It's about 4.6 almost inches shorter than Volkswagen's own Tiguan, the American version of the Tiguan. But its wheelbase is about an inch shorter. But because it's an EV, it doesn't have an engine. The cabin is larger, so it does have similar or slightly more interior space than the Tiguan. The biggest news I'd say would be the price. The base ID.4 Pro is what they're going to call it. Will start at $39,995 before tax credit. So that will basically put it into the low 30s plus any local state incentives, and you'll push that below $30,000. So that is a very affordable vehicle in a body style that Americans want.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that will be released early 2021. The one that's coming out at the end of this year will be the first edition, the launch edition, which is they're calling it the first ID.4 first. That will be $43,995 for that, and that throws in all the packages. So it is about a $2,000 discount. Compared to if you were to buy, the base Pro and add the other packages. And there are a few other touches to make it first edition, such as, a white steering wheel and some accents and the play pause pedals. It comes with a tow hitch as well. That will be limited to 2,000 units. And then so this will be a rear-wheel drive vehicle to start. 201 or 204 horsepower, 228 foot-pounds of torque. An all-wheel drive dual motor version will be available, and that's coming second half of 2021. And that will be priced at $43,695. So about $3,700 price premium, but it adds a heated windshield, a tow hitch, and the second motor means it bumps it up to 300 horsepower. So your 0 to 60 time drops from about 7.5 seconds down to about 5.6 seconds.
Nice.
That's priced around where the RAV4 Prime is.
It is exactly, pretty much. And it qualifies for a bigger tax credit rate. So yeah, you're right.
This might be an odd comparison, but I swear I saw outlines of the ID.4 and the Mach E, and they're nearly identical?
Mach-E and Model Y got the Z treatment, yeah.
Okay, so
The-
somebody else, yeah,
Okay, because the Mach E is longer
right?
and has a sloped rear window, whereas this is more of a boxy traditional SUV.
Can I just point out that like all the electric cars available for sale today outperform supercars of just a couple years ago?
Pretty much. But this one doesn't. Because this is
Well,
this is your
the all-wheel drive model, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. That's still pretty.
5.6. Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, I guess.
But the big question is, does it have software to cheat the emissions test?
The
Goes by a
emission
regular
test.
VW and ingest some of the emissions for you.
Actually, speaking of old and bitter, a cranky old Volkswagen mechanic has installed diesel spewing devices on all of these, so they will all fail emissions tests.
Yeah.
Inexplicably spewing diesel fumes. I have no idea.
Paybacks.
Yeah, I try to support all EVs, but I don't know that I've quite forgiven Volkswagen. So I'm just
Really?
There's that, but I mean, they do have a competency with their previous
Yeah.
models. They didn't sell all that great in numbers, but
Yeah.
they do have the experience.
Yeah,
And
I
then we
you know
said-
what, Patrick, you might want to give him a second chance because when required by law, they can do some good things.
Wait, you qualify that.
And they are a large, like the group, the Volkswagen group is a
Yeah,
pretty
of
large company,
course.
so they can spread their cost over multiple brands, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the ID.4 is also the Audi Q4 and the Skoda Enyaq, right? The interesting thing is, so Volkswagen said they have about 160,000 units of credits left in the U.S.
Not bad.
When the Chattanooga plant goes online, or when the conversion, it's online now, but I mean, when it finishes its conversion to be able to produce electric vehicles in 2022, we don't know when, but sometime in 2022, they're anticipating that they can then drop the base price, or at least offer a version of the ID.4 for 35,000 US.
That's going to be
whatever
phenomenal when
remaining.
they run out of
Minus
credits,
7,500.
because that whole quarter, 2 quarters actually, as they phase down, they better
Right.
be able to come the volume, bring the volume.
Right. Which
Yes.
again, so then that means now they have 2 plants, the European and the US plant up and running. I don't know when the Chinese plant is going to come online, but yeah, you're right. So, if you can get 35 plus whatever diminishing tax credit, or if you're lucky, the full one, well, that's amazing. Right. And then plus states, there's still states and incentives. So this is, I don't know, something to watch anyway. And there's a lot of features in there. I don't know if we have time to go through all of it, but I guess basic numbers, I guess, just to cover for this show. It's not EPA rated, but they're estimating 250 miles, 400 kilometers. Battery pack's 82 kilowatt and 77 kilowatt usable. It will come with the 11 kilowatt AC charger, so 7.5 hours fully charge to fully charge at home on a level 2. 11 kilowatt DC fast charge up to 125 kilowatt, 5% to 80% in 38 minutes. All the ID.4s sold in America will come with 3 years of free unlimited Electrify America charging. So that combined with the 3-year lease for $379 a month with $35.79 due at signing. That plus tax. That doesn't include tax. So money's worked about $400 a month. That's pretty good.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm flipping through this this Volkswagen release right from the newsroom, and they have a bunch of different pictures, right? And there's this one picture that I cannot stop laughing, and it's this one because when I look at that steering wheel, it looks like a one-eyed dog smiling at me.
Actually, Tony, I actually see a camel.
Okay, or camel or something.
I see a smiling camel.
A friendly
smiling
alien
camel.
to
But
put the thing in your
because
chest.
it's got what I assume is the lane assist on this
Oh,
side
yeah.
and nothing over here. It's either winking or it's a one-eyed camel. Oh my God. Okay, I just had to share because I couldn't stop laughing as I stumbled upon this picture.
So
The
this will be the
styling's not
first
bad
edition.
either.
Yeah.
All right.
A one-eyed dog
And the Electrify America footprint is nearly the same as the supercharger network. It's not as many points, but they've finally completed their nationwide rollout, and they're continuing to fill in. So
Okay, perfect. Speaking of nationwide rollout, this will be available nationwide, 50 states, all 600 dealers. For our Canadian viewers, there's no Canadian specs, aside from, like I said, there's 400 kilometers range, no pricing. The bonus is that Canadian spec cars will get a heat pump as standard equipment. No idea whether it's an option at all for US spec market vehicles. And the Canadian release is expected to be summer 2021.
Remove all the other options, raise the price. There you go.
Yeah, actually, the one thing that actually caught my eye, not in a good way, is that in terms of passive safety, Volkswagen went with the bare minimum required by law for airbags. So there's only 6 airbags in this vehicle. So that's your dual front side, and your curtain airbags, which is by law, I guess, but that's your minimum. I know everybody else has gone with.
When required by law, they'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
And a few other nice, maybe unexpected items.
I guess that does go back to your authoritarian method there, Russell. There's proof that it sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Well, thanks, John. That's and certainly we'll talk more about that as the cars come out, as we get a chance to see what real world experience with them is and driving them, and hopefully no one's going to find out that 6 airbags isn't enough. It's probably not a good takeaway for that story. So I'm gonna.
Hopefully the rest of the passive safety is good.
Let's do some shout outs and go home, kids, because we're way over time. And I know some of these people have been staying late, and thank you all for that. Let me start with Mr. Patient, Paul Guzik.
I'm going to talk about an event in a lot of places this weekend is EV weekend or whatever.
National Drive
Electric Week.
That's it. Yeah, EV weekend.
Or whatever.
So on Saturday, town up the road, Longmont, Colorado, I'll be driving a Prius Prime in the EV parade. So if you're in Longmont, Colorado on Saturday afternoon around, 5 to 6 p.m., come by and say hello. Love to meet you.
Absolutely. Patrick Connor.
Hello. So, like Georgia said, democracy is an active verb. Tony, do you have that image? There we go. This is a image of the skies here in Portland last week, and with a little added incentive for you to go vote. There you go. There's my shout out. This is from the Oregonian or OregonLive.com if you want to check that image out yourself and see the article that is associated with it. So please go vote. And I blog at carswithcords.net, and I recently put my 4-year ownership experience with my Tesla Model X up there, and talk about all the fun adventures we've had with it, and supercharging in various places, and the battery degradation that it has suffered. And yeah, so it's all there if you want to check out those stats. Thanks.
Absolutely, carswithcords.net. Go there and argue with Patrick, because I don't always have time to. Please. John B., any shout outs, my friend? Besides cheers for a wonderful Zoom background.
Thanks, because fall arrived here and it's no longer sunny. Oh.
It looks sunny and nice.
Exactly. That's why I got to have this. No shout outs this week.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on, John. I appreciate it. It's always good to have you here. Mr. Green, what's going on in your world, sir?
So I've released 12, 18 videos in the last, since we last got on. And you can check them out at youtube.com/CaseyGreen. That's KACEYGREEN. A lot of them are really short, under a minute. So you can bang out a lot of them real quick. I thought they were pretty cool. And my mail-in ballot was mailed out on the 17th, and my coworker He said his came in today, so maybe mine will come tomorrow. I'm going to walk it in because if it takes this long to mail it to me, I don't know it's going to get back on time. That's all I got.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Coughlin. I bet the Waterloo Region Electric Vehicle Association has something going on.
We did, and then we had to cancel it because of COVID.
I'm sorry.
So we were lined up for a Saturday event, and out of cautionary, we decided to walk away from it. We let people know 2 weeks out that we were not going to have it. It's probably the right thing to do. It's disappointing, but we'll be back bigger than ever next year. So we're already starting to plan that. So what I wanted to do is if you're watching this program and you have not already, please give us the thumbs up in YouTube. It helps us. It gets us in front of more people. And if you're already subscribed, please give us a thumbs up. That also helps as well. It costs you nothing, and we would very much appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. And Georgia McKenzie, any shout outs?
I got very few shout outs. Let's see. I'm going to tack on to what Patrick said. Read your ballot, fill it out completely. Please head to Ballotopedia if you want to review all the candidates and all the issues on your ballot to find out what's happening in plain old English. Sorry, cat.
Oh, no.
Cats being cats. And that's basically about it. Stay safe, everybody. Get your flu shot. And again, hit the like and subscribe button so you can have more of us on your feed.
Because everybody wants more of us. All of us. All 8 of us are coming over to your house after the show tonight. Not your show. Not your house, Georgia. You, whoever watching. Tony Schaefer.
So in addition to everything to follow up on Georgia, yes, most people know their presidential, senatorial, and congressional people, but make sure you research your local. Georgia has said many times that's where the rubber meets the road. You live with these people and their decisions every day. So do your research for your local politicians. And I'm going to give a shout out to sassygarlic.com. So I've mentioned this before. This is Jeff, his wife, his 2 kids. If you're looking for organic, homegrown garlic, check out sassygarlic.com. Jeff is a former coworker of mine, an absolutely great guy. His kids sometimes help plant, sometimes get in the way. So check out sassygarlic.com. Also, I do want to remind everyone that if you want to read all the news that we're reading, make sure and check us out online. Check out Facebook, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Patrick Connor does an amazing job of keeping the news feed going, and Philip Barclay does an amazing job of helping me on Flipboard, keeping the What Drives Us magazine populated. We curate articles from all around the web into our What Drives Us magazine. And to reiterate, if you haven't yet given the show a thumbs up or left a comment, please do. We love hearing from you.
Awesome. Well, as always, want to thank Michael Mannering for his theme music. I want to thank all of you for watching and are listening to the show. Download us next week and find out what drives us. Take it away, Michael.
Ooh.
High tech.
Yeah.
See you next week, folks.
Stay charged.